Welcome back to the box office, guys. We have another episode for you. Another round of boxing, another round of bets, odds, and predictions for you guys. We have Jarrett Hurd stepping in the ring versus Luis Arias. This is in the undercard of the Mayweather fight. So, Jarrett Hurd, former champion, the man that used to hold the most belts at his respective weight class, took a loss and is looking to get back into the comeback trail for title contention fights. Luis Arias, career journeyman. He's been a career underdog for his significant fights early on in his career and later on in his career. If you're looking at the odds, minus 1,400 for Jarrett Hurd, meaning you have to bet $1,400 if you bet on Hurd to win. For Luis Arias, you bet 100, you get 750 back. For those 1,400 that you're betting, you're only getting 100 back. So there's no value on the Jarrett Hurd aspect as far as money line, which is, straight up winner. You pick this guy, I pick that guy type of bet. Over under is 8.5 rounds, which is very interesting considering Luis Arias has actually never been stopped. His two losses were by points, two decision losses, one of them coming by the hands of Daniel Jacobs. All right, and Jarrett Hurd is a attacker. He is someone that had 24 wins, 16 of those coming by knockout. One loss, like I mentioned, very relentless attack that he carries. Let's take a look at the versus screen. And if you take a look at the versus screen, a couple things I want to highlight. Jarrett Hurd, who's the Vegas favorite, he is 5'11 and a half with a 78-inch reach. As I mentioned, he lost to Julian Williams, 12-round unanimous decision. He was down, he was dropped actually and was hurt in a couple fights. Rounds, I'm sorry. But he did beat Austin Trout. He did beat Tony Harrison, and that fight looks more and more impressive the more Tony Harrison comes in and competes. He fought Eddie Lara to a split decision. He beat Oscar Molina by 10th round TKO. Okay, so keep in mind, Jarrett Hurd, 5'11", as I mentioned, was cream of the crop at one point. He's dropped since his last fight, and that weight class has just been exciting where anyone can beat anyone. If you take a look at Luis Arias, he's also 5'11". This is going to be his toughest fight per se, just because of, you could argue Daniel Jacobs was tougher, but at this stage of his career, coming off a 2-year layoff, almost a 2-year layoff, it's going to be very interesting to see how he fares. He lost to Daniel Jacobs, got a split draw against Gabriel Rosado, and lost to Luke Keeler by points. All right, so he does compete, he is there, and he is a competitor, so he will try to make it interesting. But let's take a look at the keys of victory, starting off with our Vegas favorite, Jarrett Hurd. So 3 keys for you, Jarrett. First and foremost, you were the second coming of Paul Williams at one point. Relentless attack, tall, long, but could fight on the inside. Be relentless with your attack, okay? But just because you're being relentless doesn't mean you can be careless. Use your distance. Don't smother your punches. And the reason I say this is because you smother your punches, you're not going to be able to get the right distance to land the punch that you want. You see here in the little clip that I showed of you landing that uppercut, you wait for him to throw a jab and you use a little bit of defense. And that's my third point. This is the type of fight where you're expected to win, you want to make a statement, but you also want to work on some things to change up and add a wrinkle to your game. Defense. A lot of the times, like I said, you were the second coming of Paul Williams, coming forward, long, fighting on the inside, throwing punches and bunches, and just attacking your opponent and wearing them and breaking them down. Now, against Julian Williams, we did go down. We didn't win the fight. So you have to add a wrinkle to your game. My advice to you, this is a perfect bout to start working on that lockdown defense. Slip, parry, catch, dip, move around, shoot over the top. Start having your way with this opponent, the earlier the better, so that you can really dominate, work on some different angles of your game, and come out on top. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're relentless, you have that offensive onslaught, you use your distance so you can get off your shots at the right time, and you're countering, you're catching and shooting, you're gonna start becoming the complete fighter. You're gonna learn from your mistakes, and it's gonna really propel you to the next level. So when people talk, champions of your division, you'll be in the mix so that you can potentially get another shot. Do these things, keys of victory, because you are a heavy favorite. If you're just relentless and use your distance, you might win. You're such a heavy favorite here. But you want to add a wrinkle to your game. You want to make your career last a little bit longer. Work on that lockdown defense, man. Just really move out the way, catch, slip, and as I mentioned, counter and make it tough for not just this opponent, but for future opponents that you'll see in your career. Now, on to the underdog. Kind of a interesting transition there, but keys of victory for the underdog, the career underdog, Luis Arias. Well, first and foremost, you got to fight to win. If you go back and look at that from round one in the Daniel Jacobs fight, you are getting pushed back by a boxer. Yeah, he might have been bigger, he might have been a little more physical, but truth be told, you can't be backing up that much. Styles make fights. But at the same time, just because styles make fights doesn't mean you're gonna fall into their pocket and make it easy on them. If you're going straight back, if your backs is up against the ropes, you're gonna make it easier on Jarrett Hurd to just really unload and have you where he wants you. If you have your back up against the ropes, if you're in the corner, he's gonna be able to throw punches and you're not gonna have an escape route. So you need to really fight to win. All right. At some point, I would like to see you draw that line on the floor. And once Jarrett Hurd is there, you shoot. All right. Second thing, don't catch. A lot of the times when you're working on your defense, because we're not fighting to win, you're okay with catching punches, dipping, catching to the body, because you just don't want to be knocked out. We're kind of fighting to survive, not to win. And you got to fight to win. And in order to fight to win, you can't be catching everything Jarrett Hurd throws on you. He throws punches in bunches. He throws punches from different angles. He throws it straight up, around the guard, from under. So he'll definitely start landing your punches, especially if you're catching everything. He'll find a way to get around and wrap around the guard and land his right hand. He'll start stabbing you to the body, and that's the last thing that you want. Now, third thing, timing. And when I mean timing, I don't mean don't wait, be first. Yes, you should. But timing. When he shoots, you shoot. All right? Make him second guess his attack. If you really want to fight to win, don't go back in a straight line. Don't catch. And whenever Jarrett Hurd starts shooting, you got to shoot with him. At some point in your career, you have to take that risk so that you can put yourself in that position to win. Because if we're putting ourselves in that position just to survive so we can get another fight in a couple months, then, we really want you to try to succeed to win and to push yourself and propel yourself to being a contender. Even if it's a journeyman type of contender, you'll still be there in line and you might potentially get a shot. Timing. When he shoots, you shoot. Draw that line in the sand. Don't catch everything. Don't go straight back. Don't just put your hands up and no head movement. Work your way in and you will make things interesting, especially off of Jarrett Hurd, who's gone the distance since his loss. He hasn't had albeit it was only one fight. He went the distance with the Francisco Santana, who was stopped by Josecito Lopez in the 10th round. So he if he was the cream of the crop at one point, you have to go ahead and just bring him the fight. Now, back to my prediction. So for my prediction, of course, I'm going to have to go with Jarrett Hurd. This is a fight that's, for him to win. It's a fight that he's kind of getting, they're easing him back into the way of a bigger fight, a more competitive fight. Jarrett Hurd, in his loss, did take a punishment. And this is the type of fight that he does need. He does need to win big. He needs to start winning big. Now, if Jarrett Hurd plays his cards right, he works, adds a wrinkle to his game, and really propels himself back into the status of a contender, of a potential title challenger, it'd make for interesting boxing, and it would just keep that division just as exciting as it is today. Over under 8 rounds. I mean, truth be told, if you look at the first 4 rounds of Arias versus Danny Jacobs, he was going straight back and hugging a lot. Jarrett Hurd, a little bit more offensive minded, a little more fluid with throwing punches and bunches, can catch. So, I mean, the under 8.5 rounds doesn't seem bad, but truth be told, he wasn't able to get Santana out, which later on got stopped in a later fight. So, what do you guys think? Keep in mind, Arias hasn't fought in about 2 years. It was been about 3 years, 4 years since that Daniel Jacobs fight, and he really hasn't been as active as we'd like to see him. Under 8.5 looks lucrative to me, but I want to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think? How do you guys think this plays out, and how do you guys think that Jarrett Hurd fares? How many more tune-up fights does he need? Does he need another fight? Does he need a maybe run it back with a Tony Harrison? Let me know in the comments. Remember, please like, subscribe, and thanks for tuning in. Box Office. Take care, guys.